What we're gonna be talking about in this video is algebraic expressions. But before we get into all of that, I want to ask you some questions right fast. You probably already seen it. But I want you to just see, if you speak Spanish, then don't cheat. Let me see if I can cover the thing up, man. I know y'all seen it anyway. But we're gonna start off doing a little experiment like usual. I want you to see if you can figure out what these words mean right here. This is Spanish. So we got hola, adios, don't judge my Spanish, amor, and uno. Let's take a moment and see if you can, now I know y'all see these over here. Take a moment and see if you can figure out what these words mean. So, what we're gonna be talking about in this video is algebraic expressions. This is we're getting closer and closer to the core idea as to what algebra is. And what algebra is about. Excuse me. Algebra comes from a word that basically means to balance things, specifically balancing things on each side of an equal sign. So as we get more and more to kind of that central theme, a lot of these ideas are going to start cropping up, such as algebraic expressions. I want to start, before we get to algebraic could also be called a mathematical expression, but before we get into math expressions, let's talk about some verbal and language expressions. Right fast. So, we speak English. I speak English. I don't speak any other languages fluently. So it's easy for me to read these. These are what we call verbal expressions. So if you speak English, you might tell somebody, hey, what's up? Or when you leave, you might tell somebody, bye. These are verbal expressions. When you express love, as you can use the word as an expression, love. And also, we got numbers that we express verbally. All these I'm expressing things to you right now verbally. These are verbal expressions. What I want to emphasize, or what I want to point out to you, is that all these verbal expressions, people speak different verbs. People speak different languages. When you start to interact with people from around the world, you'll have to learn how to take your verbal expressions and translate them into other people's languages. And they have to do the reverse. They have to learn to take their expressions and put it in a language that you understand. So again, using these as an example, we got Spanish on this side and we got the English. This is the Spanish, verbal expression. And this, is the English side. I want to point out something just real quick. This is a little bit easier because if you notice, so we got some familiar characters right here. So how do you spell hola? H-O-L-A. Those are English alphabetical characters, even though it's a different language. How you spell adios? A-D-I-O-S. The script is still one. Let's go right here real quick. This is Chinese. This is Chinese script. So I want to see if you know what's what inside of this picture. Take a moment and kind of think about that. See if you can make some sense out of that. And again, if you speak Mandarin or Chinese, then just don't spoil it for everybody else. I don't speak Mandarin, but if you wanted to write a verbal expression such as bye, like if you're telling somebody bye, if you want to tell somebody bye, if you're in China, this is how you would write that expression. So we got to take this and turn it into something that we understand. Same thing right here. So this little dash mark, this horizontal dash, this stands for the number 1 in Chinese or in Mandarin. Just again, a little experiment. See if you can figure out what this is right here. What is this? This is again Mandarin or Chinese. See if you can figure out what that means. I guess I ain't got no water. This right here is the number 7. This is the number 7 in Chinese. I think you pronounce it "qi." Somebody let me know in the comments if that's incorrect. The reason I'm putting all of this up here is to get to this point right here. Thank God we won't be speaking other languages in terms of Mandarin or Spanish or anything like that. But we will be taking some English sentences and turning them into mathematical sentences. We'll be taking some verbal expressions and translating them into mathematical expressions. And let me show you what I'm talking about. A verbal expression could be something like 1 plus 3. 1 plus 3. Now, or let's write it in English. 1 plus 3. So these two are the same. This will be the verbal expression, and this will be the mathematical expression. Let's try another one. Let's do, let me see. 5 times 2. How will we take this verbal expression? This is like taking the Spanish sentence and translating it into English. The only difference is, except for we're not going from Spanish to English, we're going from English to math. We're going from language to math. So how do we turn this into a mathematical expression? Take a minute. This is pretty easy because, again, there are no variables in this. So I'll just give a quick second to kind of go over that to let you try to figure that out. I mean, this is elementary. So this is just, we just take the number 5 times 2. That's pretty easy. And that's because there's no variables that we really have to deal with within this expression. But let's try something a little more in line with what you might see in your class. See if you can turn this sentence into this verbal expression into a mathematical expression. The total of a number and 7. Take a quick second, see if you can figure that out. The total of a number and 7. This would be, now, this is where we're getting into the algebraic expressions. So let's start. So we got the total of a number. We don't know what this number is. If you didn't watch this number, we're going to turn this into a variable. And if you don't know what a variable is, please watch the video that we put on variables. So we got the total of a number. We don't know what number it is. So we're going to take this and we're just gonna give it a little picture so we can still do some math. We're gonna turn this into n. We're gonna let that be n. So we got a number and 7. Well, we know n means plus, and the number 7 is just like that. So if you want to turn this verbal expression, the total of a number and 7, you want to turn that into a math expression, it will be something like this. A number plus 7. And this is it right here. This is the answer. This would be the math equivalent of this up here. So these two are saying the same thing, except for one is in a different language. Kind of like what we did in the beginning with Spanish and English. Let's do another example. Let's do this right here. Four times a number. I'll give you a minute to see if you can translate that right fast. So again, all we doing is changing this from a verbal expression into a math. We're changing it from, again, kind of verbal language to math language. So we got 4, that's just gonna be the number 4 times. And again, we got this a number situation going on. And again, we don't know what that number is. So what we're gonna do is give that a variable. We're gonna assign a variable to that so we can keep up with it. So we got 4 times a number. And so this is our answer. This is the mathematical way to say this right here. And when we do these types of translations, after we turn it from verbal to mathematical language, when we put it in math language, we call it an expression. We call it, and again, think about it. It's called an expression when you say it in English. You express yourself. You made an expression. You express how you feel to your folks and to your friends. It's the same thing, or you express a thought, you express an idea to people around you verbally. You can do that verbally, but I just want to emphasize that you can do that mathematically as well, which you're going to have to in your algebra class. You're going to have to learn how to put things in mathematical language. It's one thing that I want to point out about these expressions. There's a difference between an expression and an equation. And the difference is this. An expression does not have an equal sign. Oh, shit. An expression does not have an equal sign. So when we look at this 4 times a number, we're not saying this. I'm going to write a similar statement right here. Now, I know these two sentences look real similar, but these two things they're not exactly the same. And the difference is this equals, that's up on top. So let's see if we're going to turn each of these into the math version of this verbal expression. So we did this one already, 4 times a number. You got 4, and then we put the multiplication symbol, and then we got n right here to stand for our number. So this is the way to put this in math language right here, 4 times n. But this up here is going to be a little bit different. And it's going to be different by 1 symbol. So we still got 4, and then we got times, and then we still got a number. But now, what do we draw for this? What do we draw for that equal sign? And it's not a trick question. What you draw is the equal sign. And this is it right here. Now, I know it might seem a little bit odd, but these are 2 different things right here. We're saying 2 different things. On the bottom, and we'll get into this when we talk about equations. On the bottom, we're not saying that 4 times the number equals anything. We're just saying 4 times the number. We ain't say nothing about what it equals. We ain't say nothing about what it is, what it ain't. Whenever you put an equal sign, you're making a statement saying that this is this. This is this right here. which does make a difference when you start doing science experiments. Excuse me. So I just want to make that little distinction right fast. Whenever you got an equal sign, if you translate it and you got an equal sign, it's an equation. But if it does not have an equal sign, it's an expression. And we'll talk about that in the video on equations.